Ladies and gentlemen, just one more to introduce. Let's put your hands together for the 2022 WCHR Peter Wetherill 100. Vancouver with Geoffrey Hesslink in the irons today. Geoffrey back in for Littlebrook LLC, Lafayette, California, as your champion. 2022 Palm Beach Hunter Spectacular.
Start up the older large 3-6 junior hunters.
Out there, jump in, need some help past that. Anybody have a first starter trainer?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just some bait and fall in, just heard all occasion, big score, 88. Yeah, you're gonna 8 score. That's first round.
Okay, I think I got it.
Okay.
Let me see. I'm just gonna sit next to you. Kat, can you just double check that we're both in it and it's focused? Because I really, oh, this is really helpful.
Yeah,
You
it's
can
nice,
get really-
right?
Yeah, you're good.
And we're both focused?
Yeah.
Okay. What a long left.
Yes, it has been.
So I'm Shereen Fuqua with GumBits, and I'm doing my GumBits Zoom channel, and I picked out a handful of people that use the GumBits, and I just really, really want to meet people and find out about you personally. And so today, I'm lucky enough to be with Geoffrey Hesslink, right?
Hesslink, yeah.
So I've never really talked to you before. I think I came up and talked to you kind of in passing,
Yeah.
and I told you that you kind of make me nervous, and I don't know why. Maybe because you have I think you kind of have a famous name. Do you think?
Yeah,
Do you
I guess so.
I don't know, but you know, everybody knows that Cat does the hunters. But I think that I didn't know this, but I Googled, and I think that you're famous in the equitation. And you've been with some really top people.
Yeah.
And you're young, and you're really have gone from a very successful junior career, and now you're doing it as a professional.
Yeah, it's been fun.
And I really, really got to watch you ride at the Hunter Spectacular. And I had no idea that you were going to win. And of course that was very exciting. So,
Yeah.
tell us about you and how you came to be in the horse world.
Well, I'm Geoffrey Hesslink. I grew up in Shelburne, Vermont.
which is kind of not a horsey town.
And it's really north.
Yes, very north.
And cold.
Very cold. My family had no ties to horses in any way, shape, or form, so it was sort of a learning experience for sure. But I grew up riding locally and then bought a pony from Don Stewart and Bibby Farmer Hill. So that was sort of my first way into this world.
Can we just be clear?
Yeah.
Who hasn't been associated with Bibby and
Right.
form or
Everyone.
another?
Everyone.
I mean, our first pony ever that we bought was through Bibby.
Yeah, and she's the best.
She is.
She is so talented. So I rode with her and Don for a number of years, and then
And so they really were based out of Ocala then, right?
Yeah.
So how did you make that connection in Vermont, Ocala?
Just from buying the pony, it was the connection, and then I just loved it, every part of it, the world, and like sort of what this is all about. And so I then started to commute from Vermont to ride with them, doing the winters in Ocala, and then kind of flying to follow them in the summers. And I did that since I was like 13.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they had pony finals back then as well.
They did.
Right?
They
With
did.
Mindy, you knew Mindy Darks?
Yeah. Yeah.
And anyone who didn't know, Mindy was responsible. Maybe you didn't know this. Mindy taught my daughter.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yes, she
I love Mindy.
took Kat under her wing her very last season and cleared her calendar and taught Kat to jump.
Wow.
And she was, it's a whole nother story, but we had very close ties with her. We were with her probably a couple days before she passed. We took her up on a hot air balloon.
Yeah.
You might have heard that story,
Yeah.
but it was very cool. And so you have been with all the masters, I think.
Yeah.
So pony finals, how'd you do at pony finals? And how many ponies did you ride at pony finals?
I didn't have a lot of pony finals experiences. I went twice, one of which I was too young to do anything good. And then the next year I did the pony medal, and I was called back on top, and then I stopped in the second round. So that was my one and only pony finals experience.
And pony medal,
Yeah.
for people who don't know, is really an equitation class.
Yes. Yes.
Is that where you kind of got the bug that you wanted to like focus on equitation, or were you just kind of doing everything?
Yeah, it is. I don't know why, but I think it's a very natural thing for kids to crave doing well in the equitation. I think that's just sort of what I was brought up, being told is what's important, and because of that I thought it was the most important thing. So that's, since I was little, all I wanted to do was win an equitation final for sure. That was my only goal.
And how old were you when you started riding horses?
I think I was like 13 or 14 when I started riding horses. It was shortly after that.
And were you riding still with Dawn, or?
Yes, I rode with Don until I was about 15 or 16, and then I made the change and I started riding with Andre Dignelli in Heritage Farm for my last few years. So
That's really fantastic.
yes, yeah.
And I talked to, for anyone who doesn't know, he's kind of, I don't know, how do you describe Andre?
Andre is, for me, he is one of the most naturally gifted teachers. His communication skills and his temperament with training and working with kids, I just think brings out the best in them. And I think that it really worked for me personally. I didn't have a lot of confidence and I lacked kind of that finish, and I think that he really helped bring out the best in me for my last few years. So.
And he's really, especially in the Northeast, he is probably considered one of the kings
Yeah.
of equitation.
For sure.
For sure. And he's a very quiet person.
He is.
As well.
He's very, you can expect his mood is the same. He's very consistent, which I think is very important.
And I had, and maybe I'll run into him at some some point. But I actually talked to him for the very first time last year. It was the end of season. He happened to be walking by the other side, and we got to talk. And he's got really incredible background himself on his riding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think he rode with George Morris. Is that right?
And Judy Richter, I think.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, being with a dressage background, George just has such love for the dressage and the foundation for riding. So I can see it, now that I know that, I can see it in Andre's style and now in your style. Did you ever take any dressage?
I never did any dressage. Well, that's not true. I have worked a few times with a dressage trainer. Caroline, someone down here. And then I did the George Morris Clinic, which we had to do dressage a few days there.
And of course now they've changed the name.
They did to the like Wellington Excellence Clinic, right?
Okay.
Something in excellence.
I'm not
Equitation.
sure. We haven't risen to that level yet to get to be able to do some of those big act is what they call it, right?
Yes.
So did you do the hunters, or did you just kind of jump in and focus on the equitation?
Equitation was for sure always the goal, and I'd say the focus for most, if not all, of my junior career, but there was for sure opportunities to show hunters along the way, which I think I had a lot of fun doing, and I enjoyed that kind of what all the hunters stand for, like the artistic side of it, I really resonated with. So in my professional career, I think it was kind of more natural for me to go that direction because I felt very familiar with that. And that it just so happened that there was more opportunity for me in the hunter ring at that time, so.
Equitation it's hard.
It is, it's so hard. So much work.
And what would you say your most, in your heart, and it doesn't have to be a blue ribbon, but what would you say was a real turning point class that you've ever shown?
I would say, I think the natural answer would be to say the USCT finals, which I won in 2014, but I do think even before that, my first ribbon at finals, I was in 2013, I was 7th at the Maclay finals, and even though I didn't win, I guess I just, you grow up and that's like your only goal and it's your whole focus and the whole thing, and it was very emotional for me because I guess even though you think it or you want it so bad, actually doing it and accomplishing it was something else. And even though I didn't win, getting a ribbon at a national final for me was just so special, and I guess something maybe subconsciously I thought I wasn't capable of. And so that I think really opened up a new level of confidence for me, that maybe hey, I can actually do this. So I would say one of those, yeah.
And I don't know why, and I'm not, again, I didn't grow up in the hunter jumper sport or equitation, but in my mind, the Maclay just seems like the one.
Yeah, it was
And
like the epitome
why is
of
that?
I don't know.
Why is that? Because I think the Maclay, for anybody, it's a jumping round, like hunter round, and then they take back, I don't know, the top 12 or so.
I'd say
in
25.
The finals? In the finals?
Yeah.
Okay. And then they narrow it down, and do you do another jumping round, or just do you go
Yeah,
straight
it's
to the
a
flat?
jumping round, a flat, and then a jumping round again.
Another, okay, so you have to go, okay. But I always thought, wow, that's really a big thing. But now that I have been exposed a little bit more to the equitation with Cat, of course, it took me so long to figure all this out. Because Harrisburg has the
Medal finals, yeah.
and that's really a big deal too.
Yeah.
And how did you do as a junior in the medal?
The medal, that one always kind of escaped me. I was on this callback list for a long time, a few years, but I never got a ribbon there, so.
And then
Washington, sort of same thing. I was like 11th 2 years in a row, so just missed the top 10.
And Washington this year will be, well, I'm not sure because I didn't grow up in this place, but is it the first year that it's not in Washington? Well, okay, during COVID
Right,
they
that
did
was
it
different at
Tryon, but now they're gonna have it just outside of
At Prince
Washington.
George, yeah.
What do you think about that? I'm curious.
Well, growing up, for sure, for me, Washington was the most special show. It was like my all-time favorite. It just felt really cool, and there's just, you never experience being able to show in the city like that.
With the capital.
Yeah, it just
With the capital.
was just an insane experience, partly because it's not really what a horse show experience is, right? I mean, it's something kind of different, and I think that's what the allure is.
And the horses, like, being stabled on the streets.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah,
It's
so this
crazy.
year it'll gonna be at Prince George Equestrian Center, which is where they have the Capital Challenge, which I love that facility also, and they can make it really beautiful and special. I'm not sure how it'll be for Washington, but I'm sure it's gonna be good.
Well, and I did read that you won I've always called it Gladstone.
Yeah.
Because I used to sponsor, and GumBits as well sponsored the National Dressage Championships
Right.
for almost 10 years at Gladstone. And I think historically, equestrian-wise, that environment is
Yeah, second to none.
beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's where you were when you won that?
Yes, I won the USCT finals there.
And how is that? What is, I know nothing about that. What course do you have to do? How does that work?
The USCT finals is different, and you know, funny enough, it's, in my opinion, the most jumper-based final. The first portion is a flat portion. The second portion is a gymnastics phase, which incorporates obviously some gymnastic elements to it, with no time allowed. And then the final phase, I'm sorry, not the final phase, the third phase is a show jumping phase, which is like a Washington or USET normal round, a timed round over a kind of bigger course with an open water. And then the final phase is a work off where you ride the top 4 horses. Every single rider rides every single horse.
And that, would you say that is the most elite equitation? I mean, it sounds so distant. I mean, first of all, you have to, like you said, it's more of a jumper.
Yes.
So you have to go fast.
Yes, time allowed involved.
And not hit a rail.
Yes. I think it's interesting that final specifically is the only one in which every rider rides every horse. So it does take a level of, you know, ability
they
to
rotate the horses?
Mhm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. So the final round is every single rider rides every single horse. Which I think is kind of cool.
So what do they narrow it down to? How many?
The top 4
Okay.
from the first 3 phases.
The horse has to go 4 times with 4 different people?
Mhm.
Wow. So the horses really have to have stamina.
Yeah, a lot of fitness.
And, you know, in dressage, we would never, ever allow anyone to sit on our horses.
Right.
And so it's so different. Do you think then, do those horses get tired? How does the judging work? Is that a time?
Yes,
for
the
that?
final phase is timed, and I think, you know, most years because of the horse's fatigue, it does, you know, rails and time faults play a major factor, obviously. The year I won USEF finals, Jimmy Torano and Laura Kraut were judging.
I had no idea.
Yeah, so Jimmy was judging and Laura.
idea.
And they were big on time allowed, and style, and they really wanted to base it off of, if I'm remembering correctly, what you would do in a jumper class or a jump off or a Nations Cup, or how would you approach it, and like how would you ride the course that way to represent your country and to try to have the best or as many clear rounds as possible. So for sure time allowed was a big factor for them.
And obviously it's potentially a stepping stone for the Olympics.
Yeah, for sure.
And would you say that's a big goal for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's easy for everyone to say. It would be a dream come true of mine to do that, but we'll see if it's in my future.
Well, that's exciting. We just started dabbling in the jumpers, so again, don't know a lot about the jumpers. We try to learn. I mean, we've got a good trainer, Jimmy Torano. But it seems hard. How do you take a jumper and manage them 4 years into competition? Or is it common that maybe you get set up with a horse a couple years out, or like in the dressage world, to take them to the Grand Prix level for the Piaffe de Passage? You know, these horses are trained to that person.
Yeah.
And those aids. And I'm curious, how is that? Is it similar with jumpers? Or?
I would say it's similar. I think to jump at the highest level, especially the Olympic level, there needs to be a level of partnership and trust between the horse and rider, which cannot be bought or created. Either you have it or you don't. That being said, obviously experience, jumping bigger tracks all over the world is, you have to qualify and be eligible. But also I just think that doing those bigger levels is, then it becomes more second nature.
And so for my GumBits, I started out at the highest level with Olympians in the dressage world that loved it. It was a very quiet product, mainly because we made it for some horses in our farm, and then people really liked it. And the dressage world loved the GumBits in Europe, here in the US, starting out with Stefan Peters, Michelle Gibson, on and on and on. But do you, we have so much contact for the dressage, and in the dressage you have to have softness and relaxation. So horses that tend to grind, it becomes a problem. And the GumBits, with the chewing, they can't hold in their jaw, bite down. Is that a factor for you with the jumpers
100%.
or the hunters?
100%.
I'm just curious, because when my daughter came out with the ponies, it didn't really seem like too many people cared about that, but maybe because they were just trying to get the kids through the rounds without falling off. So how did you become aware of GumBits, and how has it helped your horses?
Well, I've seen them around and heard many people use them. Obviously I think you guys sponsor a fair number of things, so I've always seen it around. And then over the last few years, when I became professional and sort of had the ability to try things and experiment, I just think with nervous horses, with horses like you said that hold in energy, they're locked, they're stiff, it's I don't want to say a distraction, but it's something that they can focus on other than being upset or grinding their teeth or holding, their muscles so tight. I just think it allows the horse to really they love them, right? So they're focusing on something else, they're enjoying it almost. And I think, you see less teeth grinding, you see less aggravation, you see just kind of a happier horse in terms of maybe what they would be without them. So it's been cool to see that and experiment it with a few different horses.
Well, that, I gotta tell you, that makes me so happy because I had no sense that I could ever break into the hunter world because the hunters are very set in their way in a good way. And it's funny because I figured out that I think I've been around the hunters now maybe similar time as the dressage, but I love the hunters.
Yeah.
I mean, the hunters, the dressage are so different, but so similar with just
It's art.
good basic riding.
Yeah.
And I love that, and I'm so excited that I came up and introduced myself to you. And
Me too.
so one of the things that I love is people's passion to succeed.
Yeah.
And I feel my husband and I grew up with not a lot, and so you have that fire in your belly. So, you know, I try to raise my daughter to have that fire in her belly. And obviously I've been able to help get her nice horses. And you have that fire. Where does that come from?
Similarly, you know, I didn't grow up with a lot of opportunity, and my parents supported me the best they could, but it was sort of like a one equitation horse type deal I had for most of my life, and the others were opportunities. So it means so much to me, and I think what my parents sacrificed to help me get here, you know, the whole thing, it means a lot to me, and I think a lot of people had to believe in me to do it. So I'm just really grateful for all of that, and I think that every day I just try to, you know, say thanks to them and help prove them right that maybe they believed in me.
But it's horses. It's so hard.
Yeah.
Because it's 24/7.
Yeah, it is.
Where do you find that energy?
Well, I am lucky enough to work with very nice horses nowadays, so all I want to do is make my horses the happiest and go the best they can, and I just really love the process of training them and making them better and keeping them at the top level. That's just something I'm really passionate about.
Well, a lot of people can be very successful, come up through juniors. It doesn't mean they can teach.
Yeah.
So, how do you like that part? And how I'm a horrible teacher. I mean, my poor daughter is like, oh, please, Mom, let Jimmy teach me. Because I want to do it. No,
Right.
like, gosh, dang it, I want your fist like this, not like this.
Right.
Because, you know,
Yeah.
different disciplines.
Right.
It's all different.
Yeah.
But I can't teach. I have no patience. And as a rider, I'm sure you're watching being like, but all you have to do is do this. And of course, as an equitation rider, the real secret to riding, we know, is all about position and balance for the horse, right?
Yeah.
So how do you do that? How do you teach people? Where did that come from?
I would say I've been passionate about training and teaching too. I just like the whole process of taking a horse and making it better, and not only my partnership, but like watching them grow with a kid or an adult. I feel like I've been very lucky to work with people also that share passion, which, like you said, is, you know, hard. Not everybody has it, but I do think I'm lucky enough to work with kids and adults that really love the sport, love horses, and love everything about it. So I just think it's really fun and cool when you have nice people that care and want to do it really good, and they have good horses, and
Well, you're very humble, and it's, you know, obviously the quiet ones, you're not sure, you know, is this person arrogant, not arrogant, but you're actually seem very shy and humble. And I don't know, like the world is your oyster.
I hope so.
It really is. And I don't know, I wanna know about your swimming.
Nice swimming.
And yes, I do a little bit of homework.
Well, then
so
you know.
I want to know about your swimming.
I grew up swimming competitively. That was sort of like my sport.
And how old were you?
I started
Like, for
swimming when I
real?
was like
Like, did your mom put?
5. Yeah.
I put my daughter in the pool when she was a baby.
Yeah.
And because I think maybe that was a modern mom
Yeah.
thing to do, but poor Kat, like, eventually she got so scared. She was so young. She was like, I'm not swimming anymore. I mean, she was young. She was maybe, I don't know, a baby.
Yeah. Yeah, I swam very competitively since I was little.
Like, how old were you when
I
your
think I
mother
was-
put you in the pool? Did she swim? Did your mom swim?
Yes, they did swim.
Yes. Did they swim, your parents, competitively?
Yep.
That is amazing.
Yeah, so that was sort of like a natural thing, I think.
What was their favorite event? Did they dive?
No,
or
I think like the breaststroke, you know.
Okay. Because I grew up watching the Summer Olympics, and who's the famous guy?
Michael Phelps.
Phelps.
Phelps,
But
Michael.
before him,
Oh.
wasn't there a spritz or I don't know. Anyways, Michael Phelps. And did they really compete at that level? Is that how they met?
No, that's not. No, it wasn't like as serious for them. I took it way more seriously.
Okay.
So I did it for a number of years, and then I
Did you like to dive, or were you?
No, I was more like a competitive swimmer.
Okay.
So I did that for years, and then I broke my arm.
Something happened.
I broke my arm.
Something happened that changed your life.
Yeah. So I couldn't swim anymore.
Changed your life.
Totally did. Totally did.
And was there ever a point? So you broke your arm. Was it painful? How old were you? Do you
I was
even
9.
remember?
I was 9 when I broke it.
You were 9. Okay. So Kat was 6. She broke her collarbone. She was our first time here with Mindy, and the pony bolted. She came off, and Mindy had her. She was in a sling, and the next day Kat was in a sling. And we did. We came back. It took 6 weeks. And we came back, and Mindy took Kat aside and said, don't be afraid. It wasn't your fault. The pony wasn't prepared. And I thought, we never talked about it, but I just thought, that's a real trainer when you give your students confidence. But so when you broke your arm and you were young, I imagine it took longer than 6 weeks. And were you devastated? Were you?
Yeah.
And how long does it take to heal a broken arm?
I think it was a few months, at least a month or 2.
And why didn't you jump back in the pool?
You know, I was having some residual pain from that. I just felt limited. Obviously, with the break, you lose fitness, you lose stamina, right? Like all that. I had felt like I'd taken just such a big step back. So it was frustrating to do. It was painful and frustrating. So it was, I don't want to say everything happens for a reason, but that was why I got on a horse.
And I read that your father tried to find something to maybe cheer you up.
Yes, fill the void, but.
And that's how you got into the ponies.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
I have one brother and one sister.
And do they live in Vermont? Or?
They did. But they both go to school in Boston now.
Okay, so they're younger. Because
yeah.
I keep forgetting that you're pretty young.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's just, I don't know, you've done a lot. You've done a lot in your career.
Thank you.
And I think it's going to be a lot of fun
Thank
to
you.
watch where you go. And
Thank you.
I'm just so excited that you spent time with us. And you have so many nice clients.
Yes, they're lovely.
So,
I'm so lucky.
Give me a hug.
Thank you so much.
This was so much fun.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Did I surprise you?
You did. Yes.
I guess got one more hand behind Rob and Rick and Mark is the 240.
This is our final entry here. Last to go handy and the last to go in the large juniors is small occasion 248. Reina Swanee is a ride for Shadowfax Equestrian 248.
All right, guys, we're just going to take 1 second to pin here before.
Left to see you have Greg up here for next up. Christina out there, jump in, need some help past that. Anybody have a torn starter trainer?
Yeah, go ahead.
Kristen Baden following this heard a all occasion, big score 88.
Yeah, you're gonna hang the car.
That first round.
Yeah.
And who is this?
This is Belgravia.
Is he a jumper?
No,
or
he's a hunter. Yeah.
And you know, I always tell people they're so good for getting the airs because if you shake it,
Yes.
you shake the bottle, he'll be like, ooh, there we go. Thank you again.
Yeah.
Wetherill Palm Beach Hunter Spectacular. What a fantastic showcase for the best hunters in the country with Geoffrey Hesslink and Montresor on top for Littlebrook LLC.